G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome to another episode of r/relationship advice. Let's go. Am I the asshole for telling my fiancée that if her cousin gets married on our wedding day, that they won't be welcome at our wedding? My fiancée Nicole and I have chosen our wedding date, booked the venue, and notified the immediate members of the family of the date and the pending save the date mailings. Nicole's cousin Amber found out that we had announced the date and called Nicole upset that we had booked a wedding on her wedding date. We were confused because Amber and her boyfriend weren't even engaged, but she and her boyfriend claimed that they knew that that was the date that they were getting married. They were going to do a courthouse wedding with their families and then wanted to come to our wedding. I told everyone I wasn't comfortable with that because Amber's side of the family are completely self-centered and I didn't want them trying to take over our wedding and reception. I stood my ground and told Amber and her boyfriend that if they got married on our wedding day, they wouldn't be welcome. And I'd let the planner and venue staff know that they would be turned away. And I'd be willing to hire extra staff to make sure that they were refused entry. We also found out that the boyfriend lost his job, which just cements my thoughts that they were trying to get a free reception out of me and my fiancé. Nicole is upset with me because they are family, but I'm just tired of Amber and her boyfriend trying to make every situation about themselves, now including our wedding. So am I the asshole? Edited to fix paragraphs, and no, not getting married on Halloween. Edit 2, my fiancé doesn't want to share the wedding/reception for those assuming she wants to. She just doesn't want to deal with the familial fight that will break out between her side of the family and Amber's side of the family. Her parents are paying half, I'm paying 1/4, and my parents are paying 1/4. We're not getting married on a weekday. The city Amber lives in has Saturday hours for the JP courts for weddings. In the comments, not the asshole. Totally sounds like they're wanting a free reception, steal the spotlight, but with none of the monetary obligations. Not the asshole. The cousin is a major asshole for choosing to book a wedding knowing that her own cousin was getting married that day. Whoever books first is right in this situation. You booked first, and she's horrible for choosing the same day. She had 364 other days to choose from. Don't feel bad, you are 100% right. Not the asshole. They are not even engaged, which makes it highly suspicious. Not the asshole, they're definitely looking to use your reception. Beware though, because they'll probably still try it even if they change their wedding date. Why not just leave them off the guest list entirely? OP says, oh, if I could do that, I would, but she refused to tell the rest of the family the crap they are trying to pull, and if we uninvite them, she'll have to explain why. Well, that kinda sounds like it should be their problem, not yours. You aren't doing anything other than defending your wedding day. If they end up looking bad, they did it to themselves. Any family drama that this stirs is entirely their fault. OP says, I agree, but she's stressed enough already, so I'm leaving it in her cousin's hands, and if they go ahead, they're out. You need to stress to your girlfriend that this is not just her wedding. Imagine how confused your side of the family would be. This is also the most trashy thing that I've heard lately, and they need to be uninvited. Who would even want to go to someone else's wedding right after their own? Her only reason is to preempt yours. Just rescind the invitation. Are you going to dread your wedding for the next few months because you're afraid they'll show up and ruin it? Instead of excitement, now the whole day is fraught with worry. Why do that to yourselves? Tell the rest of the family and let them shame Amber. You have done nothing wrong. Amber ruined a time of joy. Solve this immediately by uninviting her. Not the asshole. Oh, this is priceless. So Amber and her boyfriend decided, without telling anyone or being engaged, that they were going to get married on the exact same day that you chose, and when she found out about this unfortunate wedding clash, she phoned your DF with the boo-hoo-hoos about how you've stolen her most special date and how she has the sads. But wait, she has a great idea to rescue the situation. She'll get married in the courthouse and then invite all of her guests to your wedding, where they can eat all your food, sit at your tables, do their speeches, and probably push you and your DF over a bit so they can sit at the head table. The fact that by doing so she gets a free reception on your dime never crossed her mind, of course. Is she planning on coming to your honeymoon too? This cheeky princess is trying to get a free wedding at your expense. Of course, she didn't want that date. She just saw an opportunity to steal your and Nicole's wedding, and so she's laying on the guilt to try to force you into it. Tell her to do one and go pay for her own wedding. And OP replies, pretty spot on, except for their guests, but I wouldn't put it past them to try it at the last minute. And now, on to the update. Happy news, everyone! The wedding went off this past weekend, and not only did my wife's cousin not get married on our wedding day, she dressed as a normal guest. She did, however, get drunk and pee in some bushes. No one in her family was surprised to hear about that. Well, everyone, a lot has happened in the last few weeks. Nicole's cousin and fiancé have announced their wedding date 2 weeks after ours. It came down to a comment I made in front of Nicole's twin sister, Brittany. Amber had announced their engagement and said that they were getting married in October, but no specific date. The three of us were chatting about things when Brittany brought up the announcement and mentioned how it seemed that they were trying to steal the spotlight again, and I muttered about them even stealing the wedding day. Nicole had said that she talked to Brittany about it, and she had, but she didn't tell her that they were doing it on the same day. Brittany lost her mind about it. She three-way called Amber and Amber's mom and read them the riot act. It was both glorious and extremely uncomfortable to listen to. There's a lot of stuff between those parts of the families. Brittany told them that they had a week to figure out when in October they were getting married, other than our wedding day, or she would tell everyone in the family what they were trying to do. Amber's mom tried to downplay it all, but Brittany wasn't having any of it. Even though she's about 5 minutes older than Nicole, she was acting like she was a much older, protective sister. It was a long phone call, but in the end, they figured the jig was up. A few days later, they announced the date, but since Amber's fiancé lost his job and their families can't afford a traditional wedding, they're only inviting a small portion of their original guest list and having a Zoom wedding. Luckily, we don't get back from our honeymoon until the day after their wedding. Shucks! In the comments, Brittany is the MVP here. This is how you deal with people like that. Don't play dumb and think you're smarter than everyone. Brittany has dealt with that nonsense before. Pro boundary setter. Every family needs that one member who's willing to crack skulls. I don't think this was Brittany's first rodeo. No, every family and every group is trying to put that work on one individual who then gets the rep of being the skullcracker and occasionally becomes the scapegoat when families want to reconcile. It's everybody's job to set boundaries and to put assholes in their places. I think both are true to an extent. My mom is a recovering doormat, and helping her discover and build her boundaries has been really important, but I still don't mind occasionally being the skullcracker in tricky situations. I just don't get how people have no shame. How do you even try to take over a wedding that's not even yours? That's just embarrassing. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for treating my adopted children the same as my biological children? Me, 44 male, and my wife Amy, 43, have a biological son Ethan, 16, and an adopted son Aiden, and daughter Gracie, 16 and 12. We adopted Aiden and Gracie 10 years ago. We've been talking about colleges for a while with the boys, and they both want to stay together wherever they go. We have college funds for all 3 children with the same amount in, so they will be able to afford to go if they decide to. My mother died and left me a lot of money, and I used it to fund their accounts, as I thought that this was more important than paying off our mortgage that we are comfortably paying each month. The more the boys talk about college, the more Amy gets upset with how much money it's going to cost. This all ended up in a huge argument between us, with her calling me an asshole. She apparently is happy to fund Ethan's college, but only part for Aiden and Gracie. I told her that this isn't fair, as they are all our kids, not just Ethan. He doesn't mean more just because he has our DNA. I told her it was my inheritance, and I can do what I want with it, and I wanted to make sure the kids had a good start to life. She said that she deserves stuff too, and me spending all the money on the kids means she doesn't get what she wants. She left a few days ago, and I haven't heard anything from her. I thought the kids didn't hear the fight, but today Aiden came down and said sorry for causing a fight between us, and that he's grateful that I stood up for him and Gracie. My heart went out for him, and I said that I will always stand up for him and that I loved him and Gracie. He said I know, but I'm not sure about Mum. So, am I the asshole? Should I compromise a bit to keep Amy happy? In the comments, not the asshole. Make sure the money is in funds that are tied directly to each child and that your wife doesn't have access. You may even want to talk to a lawyer about how to make sure the money is not touchable in a divorce settlement if it comes to that. I do not trust someone who could think and speak that way about children they have been raising for a decade. OP says, I will look into everything you have just said. Thank you. I was thinking the same. In the event of divorce or death, do you have the money already secured for the children so she doesn't have access to any of it? Sorry, but the wife is untrustworthy. I could never do such a thing to my bio and stepchildren, never. OP says, all the money either is in the kids' names or mine. She has her own money in her own account. The money in your name might partially go to her in a divorce and in the event of your death, depending on your will and the inheritance laws in your area. She will absolutely be able to access the accounts that are in the children's names if you don't do anything to block that and you pass away. She may even be able to while you're alive, depending on how they're set up, since she is their legal guardian. You need to get a consultation with the family attorney right away. The kids' funds need to be secured with a different financial guardian named and a clause that specifies that she cannot access their accounts, and that the funds should only be used for the children's education or a medical emergency for the child whose name is on the account. Do you have a sibling or a friend who is closer to you than to her, who is financially reliable and could be the financial trustee for the kids? OP says, I have the money for the children in funds that only me or them can access at the moment, but I'll look into whether she can access it too, being their mother. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Not the asshole. It's absolutely horrible that your wife apparently thinks less of two of your kids because they're adopted. What was she like when the topic of adoption came up? Whose idea was it? OP says, the adoption was her idea. It was her family member who couldn't cope. I, at the time, didn't think we could afford all three of the kids, but they needed us, so we did it. And now she wants to cheap out so that she can have more stuff? That's gross AF. So your adopted children are her family. You're a good dad. I hope your wife comes around. OP says, yup, her cousin and his wife. Wow. And she has that kind of resentment toward them? That she'd deny the kids she wanted you to adopt as a couple because they were the biological children of her cousin and his wife. You're being a father in the best way possible to all of your children. I am so sorry you're having to go through this mess with your wife though. I'm sorry that Aiden and his sister have had such a cruelly harsh reality crash down on them about their mum because of her gluttonous greed for money and stuff. You are definitely not the asshole. And now, onto the update. I am putting this on here, but please still keep sending your opinions, as you may say something I haven't yet thought of. I will try and answer as many questions as I can. The adoption was her idea, as it was her cousin and his wife that were losing custody of the kids. Sadly, they are no longer with us and haven't contributed to their upbringing at all. I work full-time and pay all the mortgage and bills. She works part-time just for something to do. She keeps her money. This was agreed and is not an issue. I've explained in another comment this situation. The house is in my name as I inherited it from my grandfather. I took out a mortgage to remodel when we adopted the kids. All three kids are in therapy. Ethan doesn't necessarily need it, but he felt he was missing out on something, so he goes too. They have group and separate therapy, which was recommended to us. Amy left a few days ago. She is safe with her sister, but has not contacted us in any way. I hoped she would at least contact the kids, but no. I don't think I can be with her anymore, as I can't see how she can repair the relationship with the kids. I think her coming back now will be detrimental to their well-being, and it's something that I can't risk. In no way will I abandon Amy though. I love her with all my heart, and if there is something going on that I don't know about, then she needs help, and her family abandoning her is going to cause more harm than good. I'm willing to support her, but not be a couple at the moment. If it's just that she is greedy and selfish, then she can forget about having any kind of relationship with me. I guess I'll find out in the next few months. Also, I don't think of Ethan as my biological son and Aiden and Gracie as my adopted children. They are all my kids. Biological and adopted aren't words that I use day to day when describing my children. My post was worded this way to make it easier for people to understand. I thought this would have been obvious, but according to the messages I've been getting, apparently not. Thank you for all of your comments. I knew I was in the right, but sometimes you just need a stranger to say it and point out some things that you have missed. Update: Amy asked me to meet her without the kids, so I did. She said she was sorry about trying to get the money spent on her. I explained that we could do all the stuff she wanted to do within reason, just not out of their funds. She admitted that she was wrong and that I'm not an asshole. However, she doesn't want any help from me. She's aware that she has issues, but wouldn't tell me what. I said that I would do anything that she needs, but she wasn't interested. She did say that she hates that Ethan is so close to Aiden and it was ruining her child. Obviously, I will never tell either of the boys that, and it did prove to me that Aiden and Gracie may be her problem. She's moving to Canada to live with her mom. I don't care what she gets up to up there. She didn't want to have any more contact with the children, didn't even want to say goodbye, so I let her go. In the comments, ruining her child. Wow. The child that she's apparently willing to abandon without a single word or second thought, while she screws off to another country entirely. I know this sounds nuts, but I'm kinda hoping it's drugs and not just her finally revealing that she really is this awful in her clean and sober, grade A natural form. Or maybe she was cheating and the guy she fell in love with doesn't want kids. Looking at you, Diane Downs. Cheating was my thought. She may have been trying to get a large gift before leaving. It's not outside of reality for partners to sometimes ask for paid-off cars to only drive off with a new person after selling the car for cash. I literally watched this happen to someone in my family not too long ago. His wife drove off in their new car, paid for by him and his family, to go be with her ex. So the adopted kids are actually related to Amy, and it was her idea to adopt them, but now she hates them because the boys are close? Does she have a brain tumor or something? There is no reason here. OP is a good man. I'm wondering if Amy has frustrations with the adult cousins and whatever was going on with them that led to being unable to care for the kids, and she's transposing those feelings about the adults to the kids. If the adult cousins are no longer with us, was it drugs? Crime? Does she think the kids will turn out like their birth parents? Is that what she means by ruining? Sounds like Amy needs therapy pronto. I wonder if Amy adopted the kids because she wanted love and praise from her family and friends, but once that wore off, she realized she wasn't cut out for being the mother of 3, and/or she is one of those people who can only love their bio child. OP and the kids are lucky to be rid of her so easily. Goes from talking to husband and admitting that she has a problem to moving away without saying goodbye to the children she's raised for a decade and a half. Something's not adding up here. It could be any number of things, obviously, but the one that came immediately to my mind for me was addiction. I've known several people who have had this kind of weird pattern when in the throes of addiction, whether substance or gambling. Our next post is titled, I cheated on my wife 3 years ago. She agreed to forgive me if we opened the marriage, but now I live in agony every day. So basically, my wife, 39, found out that I, 41, have been hooking up with a woman that I met online who lived 2 hours away. When the woman visited, we checked into a hotel. This went on for 3 months, and we had met a handful of times when my wife caught us. She was waiting in the hotel lobby and saw us coming down from the room. She left me the next day. We separated for 8 months, and they were terrible on all of us, especially the children, male 9, female 7, and female 3. We started talking about getting back together. My wife thought that since our sex life wasn't enough for me, and that she was sure that I would cheat on her again, we might as well open the marriage. I told her no because I've learned my mistake, but she wouldn't waver. I relented. We decided, or she did, not to tell each other the when, where, and with whom. Now, over 2 years later, we are back to normal on the outside. On the inside, I'm dying a little each day. Every time I see her happy, I wonder if this is just her old bubbly self, or if she was thinking of someone. She is a very beautiful woman, and I'm sure she has no problems finding men who want her. Whenever she takes a shower after coming home, whenever she rejects my advances, I think that she's been with someone, and that kills me. I've tried to discuss closing the marriage again, but she shuts these attempts down very quickly with the divorce card. Before all this happened, we had amazing sex several times a week, but now we've probably done it 4 to 5 times these past 3 years. She demands I use protection, and she refuses to let me eat her or make her come in any way. I stopped asking because the sex is painfully bad now. I haven't slept with anybody else because the look on my wife's face in that lobby still makes me sick with guilt. I don't know how much more I can take. I love my wife and I want to spend the rest of my life with her. Will she ever stop punishing me? Have you ever forgiven a cheating spouse and stopped punishing them? What's going on in her head? In the comments, my guy, you did this to your marriage. You said you had an amazing sex life but still cheated. You loved your wife and still cheated. Let her live her life the same way you decided that you were going to have an affair, or leave and let her live her life. She was beautiful and they had amazing sex, but he still cheated. He's a piece of crap and deserves feeling like it. I have no mercy for cheaters. And says he cheated 3 years ago and has a 3-year-old. FUOP. Cheating on pregnant wife, a tale as old as time. Shake my head. It was over the moment you cheated. And her wanting an open marriage means it's 100% over. She just doesn't want the divorce legal issues. What's going on in her head, you ask, OP? Here's my guess. He betrayed me. I don't love him anymore. I will tolerate him for as long as I can, hopefully until the youngest graduates high school. My kids deserve stability, not splitting time between 2 crappy apartments, possibly losing friends, possibly changing to an inferior school district, and they certainly don't deserve the random women my husband, with his poor judgment, would inflict on them as stepmom wannabes. And I certainly don't deserve to have my standard of living decline through divorce. I played by the rules, was loving and faithful. I didn't sign up to be a single parent of 3 for 50 to 75 to 90% of the next 15 years. It grosses me out to be intimate with my husband at all now, but I can do a handful of times a year if that keeps him from being such a sad sack around me and the kids. It's weird how once I caught him cheating, he just doesn't find other women so excited. Oh well, not my problem. And now, onto the update. Thank you everybody for the reality check. The general consensus that I gathered from the comments, I never thought that there would be so many as I'm still reading them, is that you believe that my wife doesn't love me anymore. It's probably the truth. She's staying with me for the children, and I fully understand her. I love my children too, and I want to be in their lives all the time, every day. We have worked so hard for the beautiful life we have, and we did it all primarily for the sake of our children. I will not ruin that now for selfish reasons. I've decided to stop hoping, wanting, demanding love and forgiveness from her. Instead, I will accept that I will always live with this guilt. That's only fair. I will enjoy the other aspects of our marriage, like raising our beautiful children with an amazing person like her, and watching them grow up to be the good human beings they are. I will always love my wife, and I will always regret what I have done, but I need to move on too. I'm going to seek help for my mental health and probably start seeing other people too, when or if I'm ready. In the comments, it might be a good idea to broach this with her. Is an open relationship the best thing for your family, or should you go separate ways and co-parent amicably? A marriage without love leaves you open to resentment, and that can only be contained for so long. Don't assume that your children won't feel or be aware of this resentment. You are modeling what a romantic relationship looks like to them. It's a big responsibility. Just one thing, the kids will feel the tension but won't understand it. I've been here, and I was crying myself to sleep at night for my parents to get separated because I hated to live with them because I knew they hated each other. I was 8. Don't make the same mistake. Divorced parents are always better for kids than married parents who hate each other. She only did the open marriage because she couldn't trust you to keep it in your pants. You've proven yourself to be untrustworthy. Like others have said, get over the woe is me and work on yourself instead of wallowing and choosing to take advantage of the open marriage. Try to actually talk about your feelings with her and find out if there is any reason to be together. You two can still co-parent without carrying a facade of a relationship. A healthy co-parent setup is better than a suffering relationship. God, that was hard to read. I'm trying to wrap my head around why a guy who had a beautiful wife that he had amazing sex with several times a week would want to cheat. Anyone can get cheated on. You can be hot, smart, kind, have a banging body, and still get cheated on. Absolutely, because it was never really about their partner. The cheater is struggling psychologically with something, usually some insecurity they have. If Fiancee got cheated on, it can happen to anyone. All disrespect to Jay-Z, but him looking like that cheating on Beyoncé solidified for me that no one is safe from infidelity. Maybe it's having your favorite food every day, but then someone offers you 2 a.m. Taco Bell. No way Taco Bell is better, but it's something new and slightly risky. Prove to me without a doubt cheating is 100% on the cheater if even supermodels and dream girls have unfaithful partners. Jesus, these people should divorce for the sake of their children. Yep, my parents didn't fight much, but I never saw them kiss or hug once. I didn't realize the damage of that until way later, because I thought that's what all parents are like. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.